So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to make this lovely artwork. So open Photoshop and go to New. And we're going to make it this. So we're going to make it 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters and keep it at 300 resolution. Click Create. Now we want to unlock the background by clicking on that lock image. Make sure this is black and use your paint bucket tool to fill that in. Now we want to get the circle marquee tool, and you want it to be, imagine there's like a line going from corner to corner. You want to come in symmetrically, so it's equal a little bit in, and then hold down Shift and end so the gaps at each side are similar, and then press backspace. So we've cut, Control D, we've cut a circle in that black layer. Now we want to add a couple of layers and drag them below layer 0. And we're going to do our gradient. We want to get the rectangular marquee tool and a little bit above halfway. Don't go too far up because we've got to get mountains in there, but a little bit above halfway on layer 2. And right click, get your gradient tool. Now up here, you can get whatever gradient you want. You can have a gradient that's 2, or you can have a gradient that is 3. But essentially we want dark colors to light colors. Okay, so whatever you want. I already have this blue color, so I'm going to stay with that. And you want to click and drag. So I've got my darker colors here. As long as you realize which way you're going, it doesn't really matter. So say the brightest color is here and the darkest color is there, or vice versa. You just have to remember which way you've done it for the next step. Okay, so Control D. Now on layer 1, we're going to do the same thing except drag it the opposite way. So I don't want two very different colors at that line. I want similar colors at that line. So you can't even see. I'll show you why in a moment. So I can't actually see where that ended. Now the bottom layer, which this is the lake or the water, Control U, make it a bit darker and bring the saturation up. So it's the same, but it's like a bit darker. And we go, okay. So that's the background layer which we are going to sketch on. So make a new layer. And I really don't mind what colors they are, whatever colors you think look lovely. Now we want to get a paintbrush. We want to get this one here, which is under dry media brushes. So you click on dry media brushes there, and then scroll down until you get Kyle's Ultimate Pastel Palooza. That's one we want. And make it like a mid-grey sort of tone. Now you can see that we're going to create first our mountains. So these mountains at the back. They don't have to be the same as mine, but you have to consider the same concept. So first of all, we're just sort of outlining. It's a mountain here. I've got a mountain sort of there, and then a mountain that's in the background. Now when you have your mountains, you go to the peak and you draw a kind of squiggly line down to the bottom. Squiggly line, squiggly line. So we've divided our mountain into 2 parts. On the right part, it's going to be shaded in darker than the left part. And it's a mountain. It's this kind of rocky mountain, so make sure that your lines are a bit sort of jagged. And this paintbrush works on pressure as well. So on the other side, it's a similar brush stroke, but lighter. And always move your brush strokes up towards Not like that, but that sort of direction. In a patchy sort of way. And again, darker on that side and then sort of lighter on the other side. Darker on the right side. Lighter on the left. Okay. Now make a new layer. This one is going to be the tree line. Make your grey brush darker and make your brush potentially a little bit smaller depending on what it looks like, and sort of just press a bit harder maybe depending on what you've got, and just make a kind of, not, my brush is on 50, and make another line. And this is very important, don't get too close but don't be like super far away. I'm going to make a line that's a little bit further away from the first one. It doesn't have to be perfect, but something like that. I'm going to zoom up now. Now we want to do the trees, and the trees are just vertical lines that are different. And it doesn't have to be fully, like, see there's a gap here and here, that's fine. They're just lots of different sort of pine trees. It's got to be random. Try not to make some sort of pattern. Don't make them too big. That's a huge tree. And yeah, you see how I made a mistake? Try not to do all your trees in one go, because if you Control Z, you might get rid of too much work. I really wish I hadn't done that. Okay, so I'm sort of just randomly doing it, filling in some of those gaps there. Think about proportion and size. They can't be as big as the mountains, but they are in the foreground. So they're closer than the mountains, so they shouldn't be too tiny either. Okay, so underneath that, you have to sort of try and mirror that shape. It can be a little bit lighter, a bit foggier because it's on the water. So go through and sort of put in a little plan where the tallest ones are. Because it's on a separate layer, if you've made a big, make sure your eraser's on 100% hardness. And you can sort of get rid of that and then redraw it. Maybe redraw it back in. Okay, so I put my plan in place and now I'm just going to try and mirror the trees above, because that's what water does, it acts like a mirror. And very, very lightly, I don't think I did in the other one, sort of give a bit of a very hazy whoa, I don't know how that happened. Control Z. Just a bit of a shade. Like that. Okay, I don't even know if I like that, but let's just see how it looks. Okay, so that's the drawing part. Nice. Now add another layer, and this is where we're going to try and do the pier. See the pier? Oh no, where's the pier? There's a pier. I'm going to do a little 1-point perspective. So on this layer, I'm going to find sort of like the middle point of that horizon line and pivot down. So you're essentially making like a triangle. Trying to make it in the center. So like if that's in the middle, it should be similar on both sides. And you're going to pivot out from those, and these are the planks of wood. You can have lots, or you can have a few, but you've got to pivot out. And then pivot out a little bit further, because this is the rail. Now this is now the end of the pier. So with my eraser, I'm going to erase the excess pier stuff and dot. And with my paintbrush, I'm just going to shade it in a bit. And you can sort of like put in the planks. And as they get further away, they should kind of get closer together. So in terms of length. So shade that in. Might have gone a little dark there. You can always Control Z. Now for the rail lines, we're going to delete them, erase them afterwards, but we need them for the poles. So the top of the poles have to be straight. You can't be doing the poles sideways like that because that means they're falling over. So the poles have to be straight from the bottom and then stop when they hit that line. So straight from the pier, straight up until they hit that line and stop. And this one is further down here, so we only see half of it. A lot of people do this, but that's like poles that are bent or badly attached. We don't want a rickety pier. We want a good quality pier. Now on the inside part, you want to just have a little lighter line because that's the 3D element of those poles. Because it's a multifaceted object. It's supposed to look 3D. So there we go. We got our poles. Now carefully, your eraser, you want to erase those guidelines that we used. And because it's on a separate layer, we don't have to worry about accidentally erasing any of that stuff. Okay, perfect. Now if at the end of that you're like, I don't know if I like those colors, remember you can click on those layers and go Control U and change them. So if you're like, ooh, I like minus 117, you go okay, and then you go Control U, and you go minus 117. It has to be the same minus. And if you feel like that's not different enough, you can go Control U, make it a little darker, up the saturation, and then go okay. Remember to, when you save it, save a copy as a Photoshop file which preserves all those layers so you can still play around with it. And also save as, after that, save as a JPEG because JPEGs are smaller to email and I don't want you really to email me your Photoshop file, I want you to email me your JPEG. Remember there's 3 JPEG options, you want the first one. Okay, once you've done that, email me a JPEG or a screenshot so I can have a look. Now, remember, I'm not looking for you to do the exact same mountain. I mean, you can, but if you want to have more mountains or smaller mountains, different trees, that's fine too.